I hope Chad and Karen appreciate all the work we put into these shows for them.
I've heard a little bit from Chad. I haven't heard from Karen, so maybe we're too metal for
I,
this time around.
oh, that's funny.
Welcome to the Greatest Lists podcast, a show about music and lists. This season, your hosts Jason and Eric are counting down the top 25 guitar solos of the 80s and the top 25 guitar solos of the 90s. Think your favorite made the list? Tune in and find out. Take it away, boys.
Welcome to Greatest Lists, a music and talk podcast featuring lists of the greatest songs of all time. I am Eric, your host for this episode. Joining me, as always, is my co-host, Jason. What's up, Jason?
I'm doing fine, man. It's good to be here. I've got my neck brace on in case I get to slamming my head too fast.
Yes, we are continuing our Season 2 list of our favorite guitar solos of all times, and right now we are currently making our way through the 90s. And in this episode, we're giving you another dose of metal. From their album Rust in Peace, this is Megadeth and Tornado of Souls.
Behind the music.
So the album Rust in Peace was released in 1990 and has been certified platinum by the RIAA. It was the first album to feature our featured guitarist this episode is Marty Friedman. This was his first album with Megadeth. He's the second guitar player in the band, and he would stay with the band until the year 2000. And this album had two singles that were in heavy rotation on MTV, Holy Wars and Hangar 18. The band, Megadeth, was founded by singer and guitar player Dave Mustaine after he was kicked out of Metallica. And up to this point, Mustaine had been the featured guitar player. Friedman is the first guitar player other than Mustaine to be featured for a solo on a Megadeth album. And if Friedman's name sounds vaguely familiar, it's because we mentioned him on episode 4 of this season when we talked about Jason Becker. He and Jason Becker were in a duo that made up the band Cacophony in the mid-'80s. Outside of the 6 Megadeth albums that he played on and the 2 Cacophony albums he played on, he's released 17 solo albums.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's a lot of music. He also has 2 different signature model guitars from Jackson Guitars, one of which I've played, and it is a piece of work, let me tell you. And he also has a signature amp from Engel Amp. It's called the Marty Friedman Inferno amp.
Let's get personal.
So I've been a Megadeth fan since early high school. It was one of the bands that. So one of my best friends in high school, he and I bonded over 3 different bands when we first met, and Megadeth was one of them. He and I actually went and saw them in concert for the Rust in Peace tour the summer of 91. That was probably the loudest concert I've ever been to in my life. It was so loud, and it probably didn't help any that we were like on the 4th row. What would be the equivalent of the 4th row? Because it was standing. We were standing only. We were like 5 people back from the speakers, and it was just. I mean, I could feel I could feel my hair moving. It was so loud. So we saw that concert. Sadly, my buddy Mike passed away in 2011. So now, as odd as it sounds, listening to Megadeth really reminds me of him because we bonded over. A couple of their albums, while we're in high school and college. So now I know you didn't have much of a background with Judas Priest. Do you have any background whatsoever with Megadeth?
Surprisingly, I do.
That's amazing.
Yes. Now, I'm pretty sure this was the first time I listened to this particular song. But
Sure.
My only real exposure was one album later, Countdown to Extinction.
Yeah.
So I had a friend in school who played drums, and he had a set in his basement.
Yes.
And one day I came over, he put on Symphony of Destruction.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I was hooked into it. I was hooked. Yes, he was trying to play along.
Yes.
But we both liked the guitar hook during the verse, and then the pre-chorus hook too. But I don't know. I guess maybe Megadeth purists probably refer to that album more as their equivalent to Metallica's Black Album, where they just kind of, I don't know, maybe they got too popular, or
too mainstream.
Too mainstream. Right. Yeah, too polished.
Yep.
But that's probably why I was at least drawn to that song, because it was more polished than the kind of thrash metal or whatever.
Yeah.
But I tried to go back and listen. I'm just not a fan of Dave's voice.
Oh, it's not a good voice.
I don't really like his voice. I mean, I can appreciate the instrumentation, but I remember actually laughing when we were listening to Symphony of Destruction for the first few times, and towards the end when he's trying to growl, but it sounds more like a cat's tail getting stepped on. And
that's awesome.
We were laughing at him, his vocals.
Yeah.
But gosh, that was just such a hook, that song. And I still like listening to the song.
Yeah.
I just can't go back and really listen to much Megadeth outside of that song.
Yeah. And you're right. That comparison of that to the Black Album is pretty on point. If you compare that to like their second album, or compare it to Peace Sells, But Who's Buying? It's vastly different. It's way more polished, way more commercialized. So you're right.
Yeah. So that's, again, and I did the same thing with Metallica. I came in at the Black Album. So my real metal is not, I don't listen to real metal. I'm a poser when it comes to that.
So you're a Black Album Metallica fan, not a Kill 'Em All or Ride the Lightning Metallica. I mean,
I've gone back, and we might be able to talk about it later, so I won't go too much into it. But I can go back and listen to Metallica more than I can go back and listen to Megadeth. Let's put it that way.
Right. No, I get it. I totally get it.
And Stranger Things helps. So.
That's amazing. Yeah. I didn't even put that together. That's
Come on, funny. Dave. Get a song in Stranger Things, and maybe I'll listen to your catalog.
The breakdown.
In a 2002 retrospective, Marty Friedman said about this song, quote, "When I finished the solo to this song, Mustaine came into the studio, listened to it once, turned around without saying a word, shook my hand, and walked out. It was at that moment that I felt like I was truly the guitar player for the band." The solo is technical, it's fast, it's aggressive, but my favorite part of it starts at about the 3-minute and 50-second mark. He starts playing this 3-note pattern over and over again. And what makes it so difficult, and I'm going to get technical here for a minute, sorry. If you play guitar, you'll understand what I'm talking about. If you don't, you just have to trust me. He starts playing this 3-note pattern on the 2 high strings. And he's stretching his hand from going from the 10th to the 14th fret. By the time he's done playing, he's stretching from the 10th to the 17th fret. If that doesn't sound like it's a big deal, go get a picture of a guitar. Look at the neck and see how far it is from the 10th fret to the 17th fret. Just so I could say this on the show now. Today, I pulled down one of my guitars and stretched my hand from the 10th to the 17th fret, and it's difficult for me to do, let alone play something as fast as he does at that interval. That's probably my favorite part of the solo. Seeing him play in concert was great. It's got this feel to it that I just love. And so that's my favorite part of the solo, is that right there.
Yeah, my assessment is not technical, but what I wrote down was, I like how he teases the tapping at the first part of the solo. Like, he doesn't go right into it. He almost teases you, and then he just lays into it later on in the solo. But the main thing that I wrote down was, there's some great patterns throughout the song.
Yeah. He's so technical, and he actually, most people, most people from the 80s that listen to, that kind of metal, they would call him a shredder. And he hates that term being applied to him because he considers it being people who just play as fast as they can and don't have any feel or have any taste to what they're doing. Mm-hmm. He considers himself more of a feel player than a shredder. So, but with that said, he can shred.
Yes, he can. Yes, he can.
He actually re-recorded this song himself on one of his solo albums, and I can't play them side by side, so I can't tell you. But I think when he re-records it, he plays it even faster. So if that can be believed, it sounds a little faster to me on his solo album. So
it's cool.
So anyway, Megadeth and Marty Friedman come in at number 14 on our list of top 25 guitar solos of the 90s. And this week's bonus song comes from Marty Friedman's first solo album in 1988. The album is called Dragon's Kiss, and the song is called Saturation Point. So that'll be our bonus song.
Cool.
If you have Spotify Premium, which we recommend, stay tuned because you've already heard the featured song in its entirety, and you're about to hear the bonus song in its entirety. Free Spotify users will hear short clips of the song. And outside of Spotify, you're going to have to use the song whip links in the show notes to hear anything at all besides our droning voices. Give us your thoughts on today's episode via social media. You can find us on Twitter at Greatest Lists, or you can stream all of our episodes at greatestlistpodcast.com. And of course, we're available in all your favorite podcasting apps. Jason, we're back in charge for our number 13 song in the next episode, and for the life of me, I cannot remember what it is.
It's not metal.
I do remember what it is. No, it's not metal.
Yeah, we're going alternative again. Yeah.
Thanks for listening to The Greatest Lists, and we look forward to continuing our list next episode.
You've been listening to The Greatest Lists.